Conservatives made the argument that if there are two men who are married, what's going to happen is they're going to be walking down the street. And then they're going to argue, well, a child's going to ask about it, so you're going to have to teach them in schools what's going on with the men walking down the street and kissing in public. And that's a slippery slope. And the liberals said, no, they'll be in the privacy of their own homes. Well, sure enough, now liberals are arguing just that. The teacher is gay. He needs to teach his students what being gay is and show them these books. And the slippery slope wasn't a slippery slope at all. It was the logical path.
And you thought it was a math teacher, is the irony. Is that this
You need to know that you're gay teacher. What is that even like?
Right, this is part of the curriculum, regardless of what the teacher is teaching.
So my concern, I suppose, is the civil libertarian position, one that I've maintained for a long time, has consistently said we must defend the freedom because we fear the slippery slope of if we ban speech, they will use the speech bans against us for other means. And it's like, yes. And if we tolerate vile behavior, then they will push vile behavior in other areas all the same. It goes in both directions. If we do nothing, they get worse, as we've seen with child drag shows. And if we do something, then they try to use it against us all the same. I don't know that there's actually a simple answer. The one thing I can tell you is we need to build cultural institutions that do not tolerate this kind of stuff. It doesn't need to be illegal if society rejects it because you will be shunned and ostracized. So we should bring back shame.
Stigmatization, yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to have a standard from which departure is a source of departure from which is a reason for shame. What's that standard going to be? So historically, that standard was something that was set by religion. What do you do when people don't believe? So, I'm citing him again. You have someone like Mike Cernovich, who, he lived a pretty out there lifestyle, in the day. He found religion. He didn't necessarily find God. He concluded, we need this in our lives.
Yep.
And this is something that people who are not reactive recognize, and that it's true that if you are contemptuous of a religious tradition, of the entire idea of a divine revelation of truth, like if it really offends you as being impossible to believe, then you're a hypocrite. I understand. What can you do? You don't believe. You literally don't believe it. You don't believe it. But if you can acknowledge that you might not understand everything, that there might just be something to the tradition that you, or at this stage in history, your parents, your grandparents were born into, that you should at least look to it as a source of stability that enabled the values that you hold dear to have been transmitted to you. That's the starting point, I think.
There's a great video. I can't remember who wrote about it. Carl Benjamin may have commented on this at some point, that a constitution is what constitutes the people. And most peoples in the past, they believed their society had a constitution, the social beliefs and the social moral fabric, but they didn't need to write it down because everybody agreed. And the founding fathers here were like, nah, we better write it down because we want to make sure that it's clear as crystal for legal purposes, and you don't defy us. The problem now is when you get to the point where you have to write things down, your society is already fractured. The idea that we have to write down and tell people we will use force against you if you abuse children is terrifying. It means that there's a large population of evil people who would do it without the threat of force against them.
Well, I tell people, sometimes someone will say, I want you to work out a partnership agreement. And here are my concerns. What I hear is that these are two people who don't trust each other as far as they can see each other. And sometimes I'll say, why are you even considering going into partnership with this person? I'm glad that you came here so that if there are issues, everyone's expectations are on the same page, but you have to at least start out with an understanding that it's possible that things can go wrong, but this is a person that I want to work with. This is a person that I can go to sleep at night knowing that he's my partner and he's taking care of business and he's fundamentally loyal to the partnership. Same thing with a society.
One of the things your remarks you made really speaks to me is the fact that, or if someone can acknowledge that maybe there's things that I don't understand and that I don't have all the answers for. One thing that I notice a lot in the music industry is the arguments against religion, or the way that people conceptualize religion. It's almost always very immature. It's, I don't need the sky daddy, which is, it's such a childish way to conceptualize religion.
Whose fault is that?
Pardon me?
Whose fault is it?
I don't know. I think that I don't know.
The generations that came before us did not instill the values of moral tradition in their children.
Well, not only that, but it's because it's beyond it. I do agree that's not wrong, but it's not only that, because the argument that people make is, or essentially the argument they're making is, I know everything there is necessary to negotiate the world. That's what they're saying. They're saying, I don't need a God. And because I don't need a God, you having a God, you believing in a God is silly. And from my understanding, there's no society ever in all human history, no matter how far they're separated in space or in time, there's no society that has not had religion. So for people today to say, oh, we don't need religion, or I don't need religion, it's very, very arrogant.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.